Good morning, guys. Hope you're all well and had a good weekend. First thing we're looking at here is the chart from last week with all of our levels, all of our zones, and showing how it's played out going into the end of the week and this morning. Because each week at the beginning, what we'll be doing is clearing the chart, clearing all our levels, and just starting fresh so we can keep everything nice and tidy. Because at the end of the day, that's a big part of trade management, is making sure that you are keeping everything nice and organized. But the reason I'm showing this is to show you, again, this is the daily chart, right? So in hindsight, probably could have done the 4-hour or the hourly to show a bit more accuracy, but you can see how important these levels ended up being. You know, our complete touch points here, bouncing off these levels, trading back into the zones that we set. And that's why, you know, you'll see all these levels on the chart, because these are the high probability areas of what we will trade back into from the technical analysis that I'll do for you every day. And if you're enjoying it, make sure you join the free Telegram. It's the first line in the description, and subscribe to the channel, put the notification bell on so you'll get this every day, Monday to Friday, telling you the highest probability trades. But now let's get into this week. This is what we're looking at. We're on the 4-hour chart, and I've set all the new levels with our low volume nodes, our buy side and sell side imbalances, mostly sell side imbalances with the sell-off. Speaking of the sell-off, most of that is the Iran FUD. Of course, people looking to de-risk going in towards the end of the week. But you know, most of this Iran FUD, there's the Greenland FUD, blah, 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 blah. Again, in my opinion, short-lived risk-off environment. As I've said to you many times now, and it was even more apparent on the 1-hour chart, look, we're holding. Don't listen to what everybody on Twitter is saying about it being over, yeah? We're still holding this trend, right? The high time frame structure is still intact, okay? That's the most important thing. And if we look at, again, if we're doing high time frame analysis, let me throw on some EMAs. This is what we're looking to trade back into now. So we got our, I should have done them in the right order. We've got the 9, I believe. Yeah, this on the 4-hour, of course. 9-hour, 20, 9-hour, 9, 20, 50, 200. Look, we're starting to try to reclaim these levels and trade back into them, and also trading back into our zones that we've set here and our levels on the chart. So until we see a break of this high time frame structure that we've been talking about, regardless of the macro, regardless of what noise you're hearing on Twitter, regardless of whatever FUD, until we see a break of this high time frame structure, which would be, you know, we really don't want to see a break of 85, but at the lowest 80K, you know, down here, we're still good to go, guys, in my opinion. We're still good to go. Just what we're going to have now for the time being, as we have had for the last few weeks and mostly for the last few months, is a range-bound environment. This is where people are getting caught out, because most people don't know how to trade, right? Most people that you hear on Twitter, they don't know how to trade. What they know how to do is buy when the price is going up, yeah, and then sell. Anybody can do that. My grandma can do that, okay? Yes, when we're in a bull market, you can buy and everything goes up, but trading isn't about that. Trading is about, quite literally what it says, is trading, you know, is buying low, selling high, in the stupidest way of putting about it. And the best way to do that, and the best way to get the opportunities to do that, in my opinion, is a range-bound environment, because you're getting chances to short at highs, you're getting chances to buy at lows, and you can chop and you can find a predictable pattern. You know, when you're in up-only mode, yes, you can buy and you can hold, but it's very hard to fade that momentum. So again, I won't go too far into that, because there's many different ways you can look at that, and you know, we could sit and argue about that all day. But if you are a trader, these range-bound environments are the money printer. So don't listen to these labs, is all I'm saying. Right, now we take the EMAs off. Here's something that's interesting to look at as well. Let's throw on our VWAPs. I believe I've already set this up on the monthly. I have. So you can see here that our zones, our zones here, our buy side imbalance and our sell side imbalance here, our levels are looking to correlate quite nicely with this second standard deviation VWAP on the monthly. Of course, the biggest things to reclaim now here are the first standard deviation, and look to start to trade back into the monthly VWAP. So to put that more specifically, 89K is going to be the first reclaim, and then we want to be closing above that on the 4-hour chart, you know, the hourly chart first, and the 4-hour chart, and then ultimately pushing to reclaim the VWAP at 91.7, or what is currently at 91.7. But right now, the really important level is also the monthly value area low, which we lost last week. That was the big trade that we hit on Thursday, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, about looking for that as support, okay? And we didn't support it, and we broke through at 88,600. Again, it would have been a slightly different number last week based on the fact that the value area low changes, but that's our first call for bullish momentum reclaim, is getting above this monthly value area low, which we'll look at in the order flow. But in terms of high time frame, one, it's not over because we're still having, you know, intact high time frame market structure. But again, based on the price action, I'm not seeing any reason so far to not just fade the pumps, you know, to not just trade into areas of interest, to trade into our levels and look to, you know, take shorts. At the end of the day, until you reclaim a bullish market, that's going to be the highest probability trade. But the critical thing to say is today is Monday, and it's the last week of the month, and this is going to be critical to set the tone moving forward into this week in 2026. So that's just the way the land lies now. But really today at New York Open, this is going to be crucial to see how we move forward, not just for this week, but for the rest of the year. So let's get into a bit more specifics and jump into the order flow charts. Okay, so we're straight down to the 1 minute. I was going to show the 3 minute, but why not? We're on the 1 minute. Okay, so let's just take a little zoom out. What are we constantly doing here? Again, this is not order flow analysis, but we're just, you know, we're trying to reclaim these highs. Something like that is what you'd expect, right? Just from a pattern point of view. A trade into this, you know, the daily low, first of all. What do we have below us here? Not a lot, right? So this is what you'd expect, but following the trade that we did last week, the last trade we did, where I said, and we called it perfectly, we said, we want to see the opposite happen on the New York Open, and then we want to see we want to see big buyers step in, okay? So we traded down. We started to have a little pump a few hours before, and then it started to sell off and people footed, people started to get short. People said, okay, this is the big sell-off going into New York Open. And around about I believe it was the daily value area low, we saw big buys come in. We can go back and check the video, right? Because all the receipts are there. We saw the big buys come in. We saw people hold it up, and this was around about 45 minutes before the open. And then it started to sell off again. And again, we saw bigger buys making a higher low around about 10-15 minutes before the open, and we continued to the upside. But again, we traded to the downside first, swept people out, swept the liquidity, and then went to the upside. And today, to maintain or to reclaim, let's say, bullish momentum, I'd like to see something like this again. I'd like to see, you know, a bit more chop here, holding the VWAP, maybe even a break, and maybe even a trade back into this daily low, yeah? A nice trade back into the daily low where we start to see big buys come in, yeah? We start to see big buyers building positions before the New York Open, and we start to see this, boom, and we start having our momentum to the upside. That's what we want to see. What I don't want to see, as always, is, you know, now us trade here and us start doing this into the New York Open. You know, retesting these highs, I don't want to see that. We can see it before, you know, we can see it in the time before, but the point is, right before that New York Open, I want to see things sold off. I want to see there be very little EV to go to the downside, right? So I hope that makes sense. Pumping into the New York Open, not good for us to maintain bullish momentum. But on the contrary, if we start selling off and trying to make new lows, but holding a low and we see big buyers step in, that's really going to be the key for us of, okay, we could look to put in a really bullish push this week and set a nice tone for reclaiming some bullish momentum. And that's basically it, guys. I'm going to bring this chart up again so you can see the levels. I'll zoom in a bit so it's easier. Ignore the VWAP. So you've got all the black lines here, which are our key levels. Now, these are the highest probability levels in these zones, but look, let me just give you one last example. Again, I know I preach this all the time. We're also likely to bounce right off the edge of the zone, okay? So the edge of the zone is, for example, on this zone here is 95.53, okay, on our sell side imbalance. If you see a massive bounce off there, you can already start to look to action the trade. You don't have to wait for a trade straight back into this. This is just the zone of highest probability because it's our low volume node, okay? Just wanted to clarify that one more time. Make a note, pause the video here, whatever you need to do, make a note of these levels, same as we always do. And we'll keep it at that. Like I say, high time frame structure still intact. Today's going to be the key tone setter for not just today, but for the rest of the week and going into the next months. Play it sensible, play the high probability plays, and remember, sometimes no trade is the best trade, so don't always feel forced to make a move when you don't know what is going on, especially on a Monday. But if we go up, you've got the levels. If we go down, you've got the levels. And as we always say, and as we always do, no matter whether the market goes up or whether it goes down, we're going to make money because we've got to play either way. And that's everything. Like I say, make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you like the video, drop me a comment if there's particular things you want me to cover or things that you think that I didn't go over. Any coins, any particular bits of analysis, always happy to, at the end of the day, these videos are for you guys. So anything you want me to cover, let me know. And if you want me to keep making these videos, then yeah, show us some love, subscribe to the channel, put on the notification bell, all that sort of stuff. And if you want to keep up to date with the real-time plays, make sure you join the Telegram. It's the first link in the description. And other than that, already getting Telegram notifications here. Belter, should have turned that off before. But other than that, guys, not much to say. Look at that, Telegram. We're getting 19 X's from Big Kamikaze Bats in our little meme coin group, which will be opening to people soon, actually. So that was quite a nice notification, actually. Look, and people getting love in the Telegram as well. That's what we love to see. So yeah, wrapping this up then, guys. That's all for today. You know the plays, and not much left to say other than good luck, have fun, and I'll see you in the books.